In the dark and twisted world of Wentworth, where alliances are fragile and trust is rare, an unusual bond was formed between Joan Ferguson and Vera Bennett. While their relationship was filled with manipulation, power struggles, and a complex mix of emotions, it is my belief that Joan Ferguson longed to be a maternal figure, specifically to Vera. I don't think she realized it at first, but by the end of the show's final season, it was clear that Joan held some kind of motherly love in her heart for Vera. I also believe Vera wished that she could have had a different mother, a mother she could look up to and respect. And when she meets Joan, she sees in Joan someone she could look up to and learn from, as well as respect. She saw in Joan someone she herself would like to be, successful in her career, governor, respected, feared. When Vera first meets Joan, I wasn't sure if Joan wanted to be Vera's friend, her mentor, or her lover, but by the final 2 seasons of the show, it became clear to me that it was neither of those. In this video, I'm going to be exploring their relationship and the reasons why I believe Joan and Vera shared this strange and twisted maternal connection that ultimately fused them to one another for the rest of their lives. First, I want to take a look at Joan's upbringing and her troubling childhood. As viewers of Wentworth, we know that Joan's father is deceased, right? How he died is a mystery, but I firmly believe that Joan snapped his neck in a fit of fury at some point in her adult life. What we do know about her father is that he was a stern man who raised Joan to be a smart, disciplined woman capable of doing great things, but he also inadvertently taught her some very dark shit. In the final season of the show, we find out that Joan's father, Ivan Ferguson, killed his wife, Joan's mother, by drowning her in a bathtub as Joan looked on in horror when she was just a little girl. Joan's dad saw that she had seen what he'd done. You know what I'm saying? God only knows what he said to her to justify what he'd done, or if they even spoke about the incident at all. Joan then goes up to the tub and looks at her mom underwater, and she tells her that she loves her. And that was the moment right there. That was the moment that changed everything for Joan. Joan Ferguson grew up without a mother. She only had her father and his domineering ways to teach her how to be an adult. The absence of her mom during her formative years may have fueled her desire to replicate this role in her own adult life, even if she went about it in a sick and deranged way. Later on in life, Joan goes on to duplicate her father's actions when she herself attempts to drown B. Smith. She shoves her head into the water just as her dad had done to her mom all those years ago. But Joan didn't seem fazed by this. There were no flashbacks, no bad memories. She'd blocked it all out. I sometimes think that Joan Ferguson, aka the Freak, was a character that she developed throughout the years. Joan Ferguson was the person life forced her to become, and her real personality was locked up inside of her. I feel like Joan was really Kat Maxwell all along, and getting whacked upside the head brought her back to reality, which is why she was horrified when they told her of all the things that she had done. As for Vera's childhood, it wasn't much better than Joan's. Vera didn't witness any murders as a child that we know of, but that didn't stop her from eventually growing up and murdering her own mother, okay? As a kid, Vera was verbally and emotionally abused by her mother, Rita Bennett. Rita Bennett would regularly ridicule her and she'd humiliate her, like we saw in the flashback scenes where Vera's mom made fun of her for wearing lipstick. And the psychological abuse, it wasn't just during her childhood. It continued well into Vera's adulthood. An example of this is when Rita Bennett shows up at Wentworth after Vera had defiantly gone out to party with Linda and didn't come back home. She ends up going to Wentworth and ends up embarrassing Vera by telling her co-workers that Vera's boyfriend, Adam, is fake and she just made him up and that she's never had a boyfriend a day in her life. So Vera Bennett's character was marred by vulnerability and a complicated history with her own mother. Her past traumas and strained relationship with her mom made her emotionally susceptible to being manipulated. So when Joan and Vera first meet, Joan recognizes this vulnerability in Vera and may have seen it as an opportunity to gain control and dominance over her. When these two women meet, they were both lonely, but it wasn't a romantic partner that they wanted. You know what I'm saying? It was companionship. And at first, I don't think Joan realized what it was that she really felt for Vera. In the beginning, Joan had ill intentions towards her, but by the end of the series, Joan had a change of heart and wanted to help and protect Vera instead of manipulate and destroy her. Joan Ferguson was notorious for her sneaky tactics, as we saw in this scene when she makes her way to Jodie Spiteri in the night to torment the poor girl. So Joan's desire for control extended to her relationships as well, including the one that she tried to have with Vera. So manipulation was her primary, tactic, and Vera's desperation for approval and validation made her the perfect target for Joan. Vera's constant need for guidance and acceptance also created a power dynamic that Joan loved, all right? Joan manipulated Vera's emotions, keeping her perpetually off balance and reliant on Joan's supposed guidance. The power that Joan had over Vera just, amplified her sense of control and dominance. And Vera was so impressed by Joan's take-no-shit attitude, and she just wanted to be seen by Joan. She was always so proud of herself whenever Joan would say to her, "Well done, Vera." You know what I'm saying? Or "Good job, bitch." Whatever. That's all she wanted. I'm sure she wanted that from her own mom, but since that wasn't going to happen because her mom was such a bitch, Joan ended up filling that void. But when you really look at it, Joan was just like Rita. She was like Rita Bennett 2.0. She was far worse than Vera's mother and caused her just as much pain. But in the end, I know that Vera respected Joan, even after all the shit that happened between them. Joan did a great job at making Vera believe that she gave a fuck about her, like when she showed up at Vera's house and helped her out with her mom when her mom was sick. Joan and Vera's relationship was the fucking worst, right? But after season 8, we saw that there was more to their story. So beneath Joan's cold and calculating exterior, there were glimpses of genuine emotion and vulnerability. Like when we see her break down in the arms of her deceased dad, and she's crying and calling herself a freak. We had never seen that side of Joan before. Moments of empathy and even tenderness surfaced, showing us that Joan's maternal instincts weren't entirely manufactured. You know what I'm saying? Like the way she protected Doreen's unborn baby from Jess Warner, and the tenderness that she tried to show Doreen after the fire. So Joan was a woman who grew up without a mom, and Vera, even though she had her mom growing up, she was just there physically because emotionally she wasn't there at all. Both Joan and Vera longed for an emotional connection with another fucking human being, okay? I think in some ways, Joan longed to give the love that she never received, but after what happened with Gianna, she lost her shit, and Joan the Freak Ferguson was born. You know what I'm saying? So when Joan meets Vera, she's already too far gone to even be able to recognize what it is she really wants from her. So she ends up using and abusing her until Vera's hidden resilience and gradual growth as an individual began to disrupt Joan's perception of her. Vera's evolving strength and independence challenged the power dynamic. Vera and Joan were so interesting together, man, because they were almost like the same person, if you think about it. Vera was what Joan started off as, weak and unsure of herself, but unlike Vera, Joan let the events of her life get to her mind, and she eventually lost her shit and became the psychopathic bitch that we all know and love today. But what if she hadn't let the bad things that happened affect her? She would have probably been just like Vera, a regular person. But Vera's regular person status, it didn't last forever, because like I said earlier, she goes on to murder her mom. And had Jake not stolen Vera's milk and almost drank that shit, Vera would have indeed put the poisoned milk back into Joan's fridge, and Joan would have drank it and gotten poisoned and died, okay? So she was well on her way to becoming the second coming of fucking Joan Ferguson. After many seasons worth of Joan manipulating Vera and finding inventive ways of fucking with her mind as well as her personal life, The tables eventually turned on Joan. She found herself stripped of her governor status when she finally lost her shit during season 3, which led to Vera being given the job. This unraveling had a positive impact on Vera. Once she was freed from Joan's fucked up influence, she ends up on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. You know what I'm saying? Vera's escape from Joan's control allowed her to find her own path and heal from the wounds of her past. And then seasons 8 and 9 happen. So it is revealed that Joan is alive and the bitch ends up back in Wentworth, but this time she has amnesia. Once she regains her memory, she remembers Vera and how she wanted to destroy and kill her, but amazingly enough, Joan doesn't want to hurt Vera. She wants to be cool with her and help her. Like when she tried to tell Vera that it was Sheila who killed Reb Keen, Vera wanted no parts of being cool with Joan. How could she? You know what I'm saying? After all Joan had done to her? But then the incredible happens. Vera finds herself in a dangerous situation and was seconds away from death, when out of the darkness and smoke comes Joan the Freak Ferguson, all right? She grabs the neck of Vera's attacker, which was punk ass Ann Reynolds, okay? And she snaps that shit, her favorite thing, you know? So Vera passes out in shock. Joan then collects Vera and carries her limp body outside and lays her gently on the grass. She brushes some of the filth off of Vera's face, and then Vera awakens to see Joan fucking Ferguson hovering over her. Vera looks at her and says, "You carried me out." And then Joan tells her, "You once asked me what my end game was," and that she didn't know what it was until that very moment. Then she looks at Vera and says, "A child needs her mother." Then she walks off into the nothing, never to be seen again, right? So Joan's statement, a child needs her mother. It could be as simple as meaning kids need their moms, or Grace specifically needs her mom. But I think that it had a deeper meaning. I think she meant that Grace needs Vera, but also that Vera herself needs a mother. And in that moment when Joan snapped Anne's neck, that was one of the most motherly things that Joan ever did. All right? Joan knows what it's like not to have your mom. And so I feel she did what she did so that Grace could grow up with Vera. And so that Vera could live and take care of Grace and be the mother to Grace that her own mom never was to her. In some ways, maybe Joan also felt like she needed to save Vera, being that she couldn't save her own mom. So Joan, the child, became Joan, the parent, and took control and saved Vera's life, just like any mother would do for their child. So it was very fitting that Joan saved Vera's life, because if you remember back in season 5, Vera saved Joan's life after they hung her from the basketball ring. Vera gave her CPR and bring her back into this world. You know what I'm saying? So there was this constant thing where they wanted to destroy one another, but at the same time, they wanted to save one another. You know what I'm saying? It was the weirdest relationship on Wentworth. I think the entire time, subconsciously, Joan Ferguson, loved Vera. But for me, their relationship was just so reminiscent of a mother and a daughter who have a tumultuous relationship, minus all the times that they tried to kill each other. What do you guys think? Do you think Joan wanted to be Vera's maternal figure? If so, let me know in the comment section. And if you disagree, also let me know in the comment section down below. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the like button. Feel free to subscribe if you've not yet already. And if you do subscribe, make sure to hit the notification bell so you could be alerted when I post videos in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye.